Hello, welcome back to Mr. Excalibur. My name is Arthur, and today, you forgive me if I'm having to do this, but this is how kind of a generic name often kind of escapes me. But today what we're looking at is this is a Musashi DH T10 steel Choji Hamon handmade samurai katana with a dragon Tsuba. I try to remember all that. Well, here's the interesting little story behind this sword. First of all, I wanted to check out Musashi. It's been a name that's been tossed around quite a bit. People have been saying, if you want a sword for under $300, check out Musashi. They've got dozens of them. And Musashi, for those of you who aren't too familiar with Musashi katanas, or for any of their other products for that matter, Musashi katanas run anywhere from, I think their highest end stuff, they do have some that are around $500, but the vast majority of their models are $200 and below. And with that considered, this is actually one of their more expensive models. This was one, of course I've got a thing for these katanas with a T10 blade. I'll get to that in just a minute because a little interesting thing about that. But I wanted to take a look at this, and what I found was that for about $250, I think it was between $200 and $250, I was getting quite a lot here. So let's take a look at it. It's got a really nice Hamon line, and I hope you guys see this in the footage when I am unboxing it and taking a look at the Hamon line on it. I think that's what the Choji Hamon means, and that is just the style of the temper line that's along the edge of the sword, which is awfully nice. The saya, really nice piano black. Had some nice, I think they're called shidodomi pieces right here on the koguchi, which is nice. The saya plug, as I often call it, they're nice, they're fit in there. The gift knot was nice. Now, as you guys will see in the opening footage in the unboxing, this thing came up with a whole setup. It came with a gift box, it came with a full-on cleaning kit with powder and oils and the little hammers to knock out the cookie pins and the whole bit, and you get a decently nice sword. I was actually kind of wondering, okay, what's the catch? Well, as you guys will see in the cutting footage, this thing cut really nicely. Now, another interesting thing about this sword, though, was when I opened it up, it came with some literature as far as some details about it. I've actually got that certificate in the footage here later on so you guys can see it for yourselves. It lists it actually as a 1095 blade. Now that becomes the fact that this says, the material from Musashi says this actually has a 1095 blade, and yet on the website I bought this, it says it has a T10 blade. In fact, all the ordering information says it has a T10 blade, is very consistent with information that I've heard that swords coming from China, the difference between T10 and 1095 is negligible. In fact, some people actually think there's no difference at all. The one thing that I've heard over this last year of doing these reviews is that T10, they throw in some, the T is actually tungsten that they throw in to essentially make the sword a little bit scratch resistant. So the fine polish is a little bit resistant to, getting beat up. I'm not really sure if that's true. My experience is that they scratch just as much as any other sword is. But I do find that the blades listed as T10 on the websites that I look when I shop for these things, they tend to be very nice, and this one did not disappoint. Now I will say that the Edo wrap on the sword felt very rushed. It's very, very thick cotton Edo wrap, which actually makes for a very comfortable handle. But you can see some cases where the Edo wrap almost bunches up, and the knot here is not all that tight. Now, another very interesting thing about this sword is the fittings. The fittings, the Tsuba, the Fushi, and Kushira, these fittings are identical to ones that I have seen on two other swords that I've got. Yeah, two other swords. Yeah, I can count. Two other swords that I have reviewed. One was the sword from Ryujin. The Fushi and Kushira are exactly the same. It's kind of very nice textured. Looks almost like a fish motif on them. And the Tsuba is identical to the one from Iron Tiger Forge, which is it's the house brand of katanas that Cult of Athena sells. And so when I looked at this, I took one look at it and went blink, blink, oh, they're using standard parts. This is probably one of the reasons why this sword is as inexpensive as it is. The handle looks a little rushed. They're using stock pieces for the fittings. However, everything else has an awfully nice look to it. So for the money you're getting, I mean, if you're looking for even a piece that looks very nice and performs very nice, $250 is awfully hard to beat. You know, I often was looking at this going, wow, you know, am I missing something? You know, where is this? Now, one thing I am suspicious of, and I will say this is, I'm suspicious of it, I don't know. I'm suspicious that one of the ways that they've cheapened or they've made less expensive this sword is how the saya is designed. One thing that I notice what they often do with sayas is the wood on the inside of the saya is very roughly hewn and roughly shaped. And then what they'll do is they'll just lather the outside of the wood, and then they slip it in essentially what is a plastic sheath on the outside. And that's how you get this wonderful, almost perfect piano black covering. This hasn't been lacquered, it's plastic. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I'm just saying from a price point of view, that may be what they did. And you know what, quite honestly, if they did, for $250, I'm really not going to complain all that much. For your money, this thing was an awfully good buy. And Musashi is a very well-known name, especially in this price range, these kind of $300 and below katanas. They have more models at this low range than anybody else. Now, some of them really are very, very cheapos. I mean, they make ones that are like $50-$60. So this is actually one of their more expensive models. But for under $300 to get this whole package with a nice gift box, they threw in all this extra stuff, and the sword itself is very nice. Now, normally when I see a gift box and I see all those extras, I get a little shaky and I'm like, okay, they're giving me all that. What's the actual sword like? Well, in this case, the sword actually turned out to be very nice. So, hope you guys enjoy some of the other footage. We've got the unboxing. There really isn't a lot out there about this model at all. From the website I got it, they listed it as a new model. So this obviously, you know, perhaps is something that new that Musashi is putting out just in the last year or so. So maybe I'm the first one to review one of these, but it has a nice cutting blade, a very nice, well-defined Hamon. They did not further acid etch the edge. It's got a nice polish to it, and like I said, I can't repeat this enough. For $250, that's a pretty good deal for everything you're getting, and the fact that the sword actually does deliver. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope it's been informative for you. I hope you guys find the other clips, the other parts of the video equally informative. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye for now. This is the unboxing of this Musashi T10 Dragon Tsuba themed katana that we got here. And as you guys can see, it's it's pretty well boxed. I gotta hand it to Musashi and the company that I got this particular one from, which is called Swords and Armory. There's your warning sticker that was on the outside. And of course, this is what was on the inside, this gift box. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, this sword was incredibly inexpensive for what you're getting. I mean, even if the sword were not really all that expensive, this is quite a package deal that they're giving you. I've had gift boxes before, and I have kept none of them. I will say that right now. And in fact, just as kind of a warning, you know, at the time that I'm recording this right now, and kind of doing the video of this, I've actually already sold this sword off. But this is some interesting documentation that came along with it. Talking about the quality of the merchandise. These are the kind of 3 little bits of promotional literature that they gave along with it. Here's kind of a step-by-step guide as to how to take the sword apart. I didn't do that, but it's kind of a nice, some nice documentation here showing how to take it apart, how to clean the blade. Here's actually the mysterious certificate that actually, as you guys can see here, clearly shows that the sword is actually made of 1095 high carbon steel. Now, of course, you know, what's really the difference between that and T10? The answer is very little, although T10 does technically, if it actually is T10, does tend to be a little bit tougher metallurgically, but it is very similar to 1095 and how it can be differentially heat treated, so on and so forth. Very little side rattle on this sword when I got it. There really was a surprising amount of quality as far as the fit and finish and how it came, how it was packaged. The thing was double, triple boxed if you count the gift box inside. It was decently sharp. I've had sharper swords, I will admit, but how sharp do you really need it? I mean, let's be honest here. Do you really want it to shave the back of your hair, you know, hair on the back of your arm off, or, you know, how sharp do you really need it? So we get out the whole paper testing, and you know, it did the job. It filleted the paper pretty good. So without me having to saw it or push it, I mean, here I'm not even pulling the sword or pushing the sword through the paper. Well, a little bit there. But pretty much, I mean, it cuts through pretty nicely. So all in all, the presentation of what I was getting right out of the box was, I would say, for how much I paid for it, startling. I really was surprised at how much this sword didn't cost. Normally when I get the gift boxes, as I mentioned many times before, I'm a little suspicious of what actually is inside. Now here's what I was talking about in the intro. Beautiful Hamon line, and actually this time around my camera was actually able to capture it pretty nicely. It's not been you know, additionally frosted with any kind of acid etch or anything like that. It's you know, they are claiming that it's a differentially hardened blade, so the Hamon looks pretty real. And as I mentioned before, the Shidomi peaches and the Koguchi are nice and firm and secure. So the Edo wrap was very heavy. It's a very heavy cotton, and in some places it looked a little bunched up. But that's me being, you know, really critical at this point. So I'd have to say, right out of the box, I was pretty impressed with this sword from Musashi. The handling of this sword behaved very much like the Iron Tiger Forge um, katana that I reviewed earlier last year, and I almost have to wonder whether or not it's actually the same sword as far as how it was constructed and everything. I mean, it had a very nice subtle Hamon edge, so did the one from Iron Tiger Forge. They're both roughly the same length. They had the same weight to it. The blade does have some, for the length blade, it actually has some nice weight to it. And that I know is due to the fact that it does have, in the shaping of the blade, they have left some Nico on the blade, or some meat. So it isn't just a straight grind there. Here's a nice close-up look at the blade. I mean, it's got a nice look to it. I really have to admit. I said it at least 2 or 3 times in the intro. I really wondered what I was missing. Cutting with the sword was really nice. Like I said, it reminded me of that one from Iron Tiger Forge. It cut really nicely. The one thing I do have to say, though, is you see me wearing gloves. The underside, the relief on the Tsuba were so sharp that if your hand is right up under it, it tends to be a little bit abrasive. So it's almost like the reliefs are too crisp. But against the bottle Shigeri here, it really did a wonderful job. It really was quite easy. Here's something I wanted to show you guys. Something slowed down here just a little bit so you can imagine, the Bionic Man sound. I'm doing that lousy service. But what I wanted to show here is these juice bottles tend to be really heavy, and so they don't do a static cut very well. But check this out. Cut it right in two. And you can see, the other half go. I mean, sometimes people think, okay, you really need a clean cut of it. Well, you did. It's just so heavy of a plastic that it actually just went flying. And watch this. This is another one. These are about the heaviest plastic juice bottles I've ever seen. And they make for a real challenge whenever cutting them with swords. But watch this. Bang! There's one headless bottle. There can be only one. Well, there were several apparently. Here's another slow-mo shot. This was with a more common bottle, but same result right off the top. Not a static cut, mind you, but here was something I was attempting with here. I don't know what the name of it here is, but it's a shortcut. You're not drawing the sword all the way back. You're just pushing it through the target. This is my first time trying it, and against the softer plastic of the milk bottles, it did all right. And it just gives you an idea, one, how easy it is, and one, how sharp this sword was, but how great at cutting it is. I mean, it really was nice. I literally was just shaving pieces off of it, and the thing's already empty. And, I mean, watch this. One more cut. Yeah, one there, and another one. Let's see, do I get another one in here? Nope. Wasn't that good. And I just decided to have some fun here. But I just literally just shaving pieces of this thing off, and so it was awfully a nice sword to cut with. So would I recommend it at this price range? It's kind of hard not to, considering how well it performed. Stayed together just fine. The parts all stayed nice and tight after I did some light cutting with it. And of course, regardless of how these are made, make sure you guys wipe these things down, oil them a little bit, wash the blades off with something, so you have them to play with again next time.